So the actual game, of course, right here is right here. Really, there's a lot to take in. Obviously, if you're not new to it, in essence, most of these these VB files are classes. Basically, they do simple tasks. The Direct 3D handles our Direct 3D stuff. GUI is what handles our GUI elements. Characters handles the characters right now, and a lot of this stuff is being added to or will be focused on more, and most of it will have really minor stuff to it. The actual tile scroller, for example, is actually right here in C tile scroller, and that's what actually runs my tile scroller and gets that information going, and so on and so forth. Our input, the sound, which I actually don't have here right now because I have no sound at the moment, but I do have a class for it. It is also in here, and that's the essence of object-oriented programming. But let's get down to some action, I guess. As you can see here, I've made some comments and information. I made an entire class for handling GUI elements, basically, and we'll be working on that quite a bit here in a while, because now that we're getting near the end of doing standard GUI elements like a main menu screen, stuff like that, it's time to go to the next level and start putting overlays, basically, where we can put GUI elements over other GUI elements and things of that nature. This will be really nice because we can make little message boxes, for example, or be able to put little health bars and stuff on our characters as they're walking around as a GUI element, and things of that nature. So there's some modifications that will need to be made in this code that I know of for sure. The RPG engine is basically the core engine, basically the basic stuff that really runs it, whereas we have a lot of stuff here. A lot of this code is kind of split between the two. It'll get more sorted later, really. Excuse me, but for now that's what we have. So where we're pretty much at right now is, like I said, we're getting ready to work on the actual in-game GUI element. Right now we just kind of have a placeholder and it just renders it, and there's not much else. And that's pretty much done right here. When you're actually in-game, this is the big thing that runs, and our actual GUI element is right here. That's the overlays we have right now, temporary ones, the non-important ones we don't need much anymore. Those are the ones we're getting ready to replace with actual GUI elements, and we'll actually update and things from here. So this is going to see quite a few changes. We're also going to actually remove this. This is the player stats, which is basically this wonderful sub here. Let me find it. Print player stats. There it is. Basically all that stuff that you saw on the side, and then from the other one, from the old GUI. Since we're changing it and we're not going to use this here, we're basically going to get rid of it, because we don't want it to actually show up. As you can see right here in tile load, this is the stuff that happens when you saw that title screen. It loads the config file, which is what this does right here. If it doesn't exist, it'll create it even. It'll also update it if it's out of date. And then the other things this does is actually set up our GUI elements. So we have the actual main menu GUI being created here. We have the options menu being created here. We have, another one. We had the load game GUI being created here, and then the credits, the basic credits GUI being created here, and so on and so forth. And then the load map also being created here. So right now we're getting ready to do our overlay in game. So that's pretty much the next GUI we're going to make. I have a nice whiteboard, which you can't see, but on this whiteboard is pretty much what I'm working on currently, which of course is the main overlay, and I have a basic idea of how it's going to look, and we already kind of have an idea of how it's going to look, obviously, because we saw it in game. But this also gives ideas of what's going on here. We're going to have a few elements on here. Most of the bottom elements are pretty much open right now. No one want character info display, exactly how that's going to look and whatnot. I'm not sure. We might look into a mini-map, or maybe even some sort of a text message box, and maybe some extra menu buttons. The top is pretty much set in stone, and the main elements we're going to be adding to actually work will probably be a location information, a compass, and of course the actual menu in in-game menu button. There's also supposed to be a gold or some sort of transaction stuff there. Since we don't have anything implemented for that for now, we're going to do basically a placeholder to kind of fill it in. So we are basing this off the overlay that we have set up. So we're going to find that and actually load it into Photoshop here. Yeah, it's time to get down to business and actually do some coding and adding to the game. So I hope you guys enjoy this. If it's a little slow, my apologies. Make sure you leave your feedback, and we'll see about. I'll see about trying to get this kind of more situated into maybe a more standard vlog fashion. Let me go ahead and just actually open. Whoops. Alright. So, projects, RPG game engine, bin, whoop, the wrong one. Bin debug. Here we go. As you can see, there's bottom right there. You see all the sprite sheets and stuff that we have here as well. And so there's the GUI elements that you saw. There's the old overlay. There's the new overlay. That's pretty much what we want right there. I'm going to load that sucker up. It's nice to see I actually had it made. So what you're looking at here is the basic overlay. Right now, as we have it set up, we actually have them split into two different types to actually display it. What we're going to do to this overlay is pretty much add basic areas to it so we can actually see where things are supposed to go. This will help us when we're drawing it on there for a lot of these elements to make sure they go into the proper places, basically. So the first thing I'm going to do is actually change the color to red here, and we know there's going to be a gold and information display, but we don't know when we'll be able to add that. Right now we're not going to, so I'm just going to basically mark areas here that are going to be cut off, if you will, or is for other use. Go ahead and that should be plenty of room, and I'm just going to fill that in. Okay, so that's pretty much where I'll make a note of it here. Let me just go a little smaller so I can actually make it fit. Oh, stop it. So there's the placeholder for golden currency on our UI. Right over here is where the actual menu button is going to go. That should be plenty of room for a good menu button. And because of that, we're actually going to leave it pretty empty. Location, etc. is supposed to go over here. Exactly how that's going to work, we're not sure. But we are going to mark some areas here to help give us a basic structure. So I'm kind of just going to mark, whoops, yeah, hold on, let me try that again. I am definitely not the graphic artist. I'm pretty much going to just mark the area here. That should be big enough, I think. I'll fill that in. Whoops. Okay, that's kind of weird. Oh, because I'm still on the text. We're going to fill that in with green just so we can see where it's at, and then we'll leave the rest as blue so we can just so I have an idea of where to draw stuff and we can work on different distances. It doesn't make much sense right now, but as we start putting the game, we start putting it together, it should make a little more sense, hopefully. Down here we're going to mark some different reds and just to pretty much iron off some different. Actually, I'm going to do this as green over here, and this is just to mark where, basically taking what's on my board, my whiteboard basically, and kind of putting it into our UI here, so I can use it for this template. Don't know why I did that. Okay, text. Just mark this. Oh, you should not be green, my friend. I can't read you if you're green. Der. So just kind of marking that. Okay, and then we'll go ahead and actually move back to red here.